Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about really consistency being the most important thing for your results. And I think that's something people forget. They get so caught up sometimes in trying to figure out what is optimal instead of thinking about what will keep me consistently doing well. In other words, good, great, and optimal. Like those are all different things. Are you making good progress, right? Are you getting a good training response? Is your nutrition good? Okay, it doesn't always have to be great, and it doesn't have to be optimal. And here's the thing. A lot of times when people are chasing optimal, they end up overdoing things, and it ends up being an inferior approach they're using. They diet too hard. They bulk too hard, right? Then they just get fat. They try to train too hard in the sense of, instead of saying, okay, look, maybe I need 10 to 12 sets per muscle group, real close to failure, right? Within a rep or two of failure, maybe right at the bleeding edge. In some smaller movements I can hit failure. What do? They then take their worst muscle, and they'll come in and do 20 sets for it, all with drop sets, rest, pause, all this nonsense at the end. And then they end up eventually just getting injured. Not only do they overtrain that muscle or tendon, they end up getting tendon inflammation. They get injuries, they get hurt, and then they're sidelined, right? When instead, had they said, okay, if I'm doing maybe 10, 11, 12 sets for most things, and I have this weak link here, I don't know, maybe I could do 15, 16 sets, take some of them, the smaller exercises, the ones that's less risky, right? Not your bench press and your squat. Take them right to failure. Temporary muscle failure, then stop, right? The weight stops moving. That's failure. Everyone has these weird ideas on that too, though. They'll start saying stuff, you don't know what absolute muscle failure is, and it's like, it's irrelevant because what you guys describe as these crazy methods have not been found in the lab to cause more muscle growth. Failure means the weight stops moving. If you have to rest 3 seconds because you can't lift another rep, well, you've reached failure. That's it. You've reached muscle failure. And everything beyond that isn't even hitting the muscle fibers that grow for more advanced lifters. Like, you're not even reactivating them. What? People don't want to hear that. Yeah, you're just reworking muscle fibers that you've probably gotten about as big as they're going to get, the slower twitch fibers. You've been training a few years. Those aren't going to get any bigger. They might with drugs. That's it. Not from training. Not from lifting weights. You've probably maxed those out. Not going to see any size increase, but that's all you're hitting once you go beyond failure. Failure just meaning temporary muscle failure. You can't do another rep without a few seconds rest, or without reducing the weight, or someone helping you. Okay, that's it. That's muscle failure. In fact, the rep that someone had to help you lift probably didn't even hit the upper threshold fibers. They were too fatigued. They're gone. They're done. They were finished before that. So, everyone, they overdo things instead of saying, maybe if I just really put in the work and just work hard, it doesn't have to be to the bleeding, it's just work hard. And granted, I understand people not working hard is a whole nother topic too. We see a lot of that in the powerlifting world with, I want you to do all these singles at RPE 7. Complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. That's also an example of not training hard. I understand if it's dynamic work, but with dynamic effort work, we have exact prescriptions, don't we? And you are still exerting maximally on speed work. You're moving the weight as fast as possible, usually against bands or chains, less than 30 seconds between sets. Yeah, that's how speed work works. Different beast. But they're taking their time. Singles at RPE 7. That's a waste of time. So, here's the thing. Consistency. Consistency matters. Consistency in your diet, consistency in your training. And people say, what about if you get hurt? Well, if you get hurt, then that's not consistency. Okay, every injury you get is an immediate reduction in consistency. You've lost all consistency the second you get hurt. So how about you not get hurt? And guys will say, well, I can't push the bleeding edge. I can't do 25 sets without getting hurt eventually. It's like, well, then maybe you shouldn't do that stupid shit. You kind of see how that works? Okay? And that's what guys are forgetting with some of this. They want to go so hard without even looking at the data and saying, yeah, but there's a certain period of hard to where you're not gaining anything from it. You're not gaining any more muscle. You're not doing anything productive, right? You're just beating your body up. We have a pretty good idea where those thresholds are from decades of coaching elite athletes, decades of research in the lab. We have a pretty good idea of where those limits are. Okay, it's not a great mystery. So, then you're just setting yourself up for overuse injuries, being beat up, psychological fatigue, you lose motivation. Here's what I would say to most people. I'm going to work at 90% of your effort most of the time, 90% of what you can do. Occasionally bump it to 100. Do that all the time and live there. If that's your baseline, and you do that for 5 years, 10 years, be in a good position. You're less likely to break, and you're going to make continual progress. And how far do people think they're going to get in 10 years? Everyone's convinced they're going to achieve these amazing results in 3 years, 2 years. Well, I'm sorry, most of the people you look up to who've achieved amazing results, you'd be surprised how many of them have 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in. Sorry, that's how this works. And you're not going to compete with that by just saying, hey, I'm going to just work harder and get there faster. Well, best of luck to you. And I don't think people have realized how many people have tried that and failed. Now, I can appreciate the effort, and I think all of us can who are serious about it. Look, we appreciate the enthusiasm. We can respect the enthusiasm. Not a bad attitude, but you better temper it with some common sense and knowledge. Because otherwise what happens? You're a has-been by 30. Oh man, that's not a good place to be. You're one of those, hey, I used to lifts. You know how many of those guys I bump into? Those guys I've met in airports when I used to travel a lot and had layovers. I met so many I used to lifts. They want to talk to me about it. And they find out I'm in my 40s. Used to lifts. Yeah. But here's the thing. It's all about the long game. You put in consistent hard work for a decade, 10 years. See where it gets you. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.